The alkalinity of water is a measure of its ability to neutralize acid. The alkalinity of natural water is primarily due to the source of weak acids, although the weak or strong bases may also contribute. Bicarbonates are the main form of alkalinity because they are formed in considerable quantities by the actions of carbon dioxide on the basic substance in the solid. The objective of the alkalinity test included to gain a knowledge of the method used to measure pH and alkalinity, to be able to calibrate pH meter, and to determine the alkalinity of the water sample and express this in terms of the ppH of calcium carbonate.
First, rinse the pH electrode and the beaker with the distilled water. Transfer the 100 mm sample into the beaker. Dip the pH electrode into the sample. Stir the sample with a magnetic stirrer. Record the pH when constant reading is obtained. Add 0.2 ml HCl to the sample. After each addition, mix the solution thoroughly but gently with the magnetic stirrer. Record pH when a constant reading is observed. Continue adding deterrents and measure pH until pH 4.0 is reached.
Then, the data obtained was recorded in a table. A deviation curve of the observed pH versus cumulative millimeter HCl difference added was plotted. From the curve, we obtained the volume of HCl added when pH equal to 4.5. Lastly, we compute the alkalinity values of HCl in ppm of calcium carbonate.
Hello, my name is Muhammad Amir Zairuddin bin Zain Abidin. So we are going to continue with biochemical oxygen demand test, which is the BOD test. As you can see, biochemical oxygen demand or BOD is the amount of oxygen consumed by bacteria and other microorganisms while they decompose organic matter under aerobic conditions. BOD is the most important parameter in water pollution control. It is used as a measure of organic pollution as a basis for estimating the oxygen need for biological process and as an indicator of process performance. BOD test can be 5 days at 20 Celsius or 3 days at 30 Celsius. The objective of BOD test is to determine the biochemical oxygen demand in the water.
My name is Ruben and I'll be presenting about the procedure of BOD test. 2 bottles will be used. One will contain sample from downstream of the river, one will contain sample from upstream of the river, and another one will be a control. The control is a solution mixed of high-grade water that doesn't have copper or chlorine, magnesium sulfate, calcium chloride, and iron 3 chloride solution, which is essentially a phosphate buffer solution. So bacteria is important. We will be checking for chlorine or other impurities that will affect the growth of bacteria. So we will need to check the pH and neutralize with sodium hydroxide or sulfuric acid if needed. It will be taken by an oxygen meter. We will wait until a beep is heard over here, that means the reading is stable. And then the probe will be taken out and cleaned with water before being used for the upstream and the other jars. Then the initial DO, the samples will be sealed to prevent air from entering in and will be put into an incubator for 5 days. The DO bottles are removed. And we will follow the same procedure where we will be opening the jars and we will be using the oxygen meter and dipping into it until a beep is heard where a constant reading is obtained. The final DO will be recorded. The probe will be again cleaned with water and the same procedure will follow for the other containers.
After the data has been recorded from the experiment, we can conclude that the DO note is 7.75 and DO5 is 6.87. So, we need to find the dilution factor and 20 DO5. So, the example of calculation for dilution factor is 100 over 100 plus 300. We're going to get 0.25. So, after we got our dilution factor, we can use our formula DO note minus DO5 over dilution factor, which we'll be going to get 4.32 mg over L.
Now, let us continue with project. First, let me introduce a little bit about suspended solids, or also known as TSS. TSS includes all particles suspended in water that cannot pass through a filter. Suspended solids are present in sanitary wastewater and also industrial wastewater. As the level of TSS increases, the water body will begin to lose its ability to support the diversity of aquatic life. Next, I will tell about the objective of this test, which is to determine the concentration of total suspended solids in the water sample.
Assalamualaikum and hi, I'm Ina and I'm going to show you on how to conduct total suspended solid test. First thing first, I'm going to explain about the equipment and material that we need for this test, which is firstly vacuum filtration system, glass fiber membrane, aluminium dish, drying oven, desiccator, and analytical balance. Firstly, weight the glass fiber filter until it gets a constant weight. Secondly, shake the sample vigorously and transfer the predetermined sample volume to a graduated cylinder. After that, place the pre-weighed filter on filtration apparatus and wet it with small volume of distilled water. Next, turn on the pump. Pour the sample into the filter holder. Raise the graduated cylinder with distilled water and pour it in the filter holder and repeat this step for 3 times. After that, turn off the pump. Transfer the filter to an aluminium dish. After that, place the filter in oven and dry it at temperature 103 to 105 degrees Celsius for at least 60 minutes. After that, transfer it into desiccator and cool it to room temperature. Finally, weigh it and repeat this step until it got a constant weight. Next, I'm going to say about the data collection of total suspended solid test. Since we are group 14, we get the data from set D. The data is about sample 1 and sample 2. We have weight of the filter and dish, weight of the filter and dish plus the residue, volume of sample and total suspended solid. Since we have 2 samples, we take the average by plus the data from sample 1 plus sample 2 and divide by 2. And the total suspended solid is calculated by using a formula. These are the formula that we use, which is A minus B over C, which is A is the weight of filter and dish plus residue, B is weight of filter and dish, and C is the volume of the sample. These are example calculation for the average data, which is 244.2.1 minus 2441.0 over 100, which is the volume of the sample. And then we get the total suspended solid 0.011 mg per liter.
Finally, I will conclude the result of this test. Based on the data, we obtained the total suspended solids for sample 1 is 9 mg per liter, while for sample 2 it is 12 mg per liter. And then from there we got that the average is 10.5 mg per liter. This can be considered as low, and thus the sunlight can penetrate the water, and the oxygen can be produced by the algae and by the plant.